Welcome to the Tom's Hardware Podcast for today, March 21st, 2023. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Avram Pilch, and I'm joined by Associate Editor Les Pounder, Raspberry Pi expert Ash Hill, and our very special guest, Jessica Peter, who is here to talk to us about an amazing assistant that she created called Maria. Before we get into your project, Jess, what can you tell folks about yourself and your background?
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. I'm Jess. People call me Jess. I am a designer, maker, whatever, what have you, whatever you want to call me, based in the London area presently. I work a normal 9 to 5 job, mild mannered 9 to 5 job, and then in the evenings, I just try to make sure that my techie skills stay sharp, and that's how things like Maria and some of the other nonsense that I create in my free time have come about. So glad to be here, everyone.
Awesome. So tell us about your Maria project.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I will just a moment while I power her up. So, um, Maria is, I use the term virtual assistant. She is a she's a virtual assistant. She's not someone who you can really rely on to get quite a lot done, but she does do some things. So Maria is, in short, as you will see, hopefully shortly in this daylight cone here.
I see her. I see her.
Yes,
She's doing her little
we
shimmy.
have life. We have life. So Maria is a pseudo-holographic anime character who's listening to me right now and is going to tell me she didn't hear that command correctly because I'm just waffling. At any rate, sorry. Maria is a pseudo-holographic anime virtual assistant. She's got an adorable maid outfit. She does a handful of commands, which let's see if she can do one now, or else we can enjoy more waffling. Maria, start a timer for 10 seconds. And she processes.
Okay, timer started for 10 seconds.
So, like, really, what more do you need in terms of, Alexa, Siri? All of it can kind of come down to this, I think. So she performs a number of functions, and yeah, despite my interlude, I am waffling again. She can start a timer. She can get you the weather for where you are, as well as the weather in different cities. She does have a little Spotify integration. So if you are playing some music, you can change the song to specific ones and pause it. She also has a dictionary function, so she can define some words for you. But more than anything, she is a beautiful, both physically in terms of her soul, friend that you can have throughout your day to keep you company, to live that fantasy of having some cute hologram that you can talk to in a sense. And yeah, just living the magical girl adjacent millennial lifestyle dream is kind of the goal here.
She's just amazing. And I think my favorite part the whole thing that brings her to life is the fact that you've got this holographic effect going on and she's got these animations. She's rocking her head back and forth. When you talk, she lifts up her hand. I saw something floating around her when the timer was going. So can you talk a little bit about her physical design? Did you create her 3D shape that we see inside, or did you have that commissioned somewhere?
Oh, yes. Happy to talk a little bit more about that. So I will share my screen here. I'm using this piece. Share screen. So Maria is an original design and creation. I'm just adding some permissions to this here, so I can actually share my screen. That I created. I am not an illustrator, but I drew on all of my like middle school notebooks, drawing anime characters.
Also,
In
she's
order
very
to
personal
capture
to
this.
you.
Of course, yes. Do you really think that someone gets to this stage of, I'm not sure if we'll call it like delusion or whatever, without having some kind of a personal connection to anime? Unfortunately, either I can quit and reopen Chrome, or we can just go on a word journey for the time being. I will start with a couple of things that are physical that don't need me to have permissions set up in Chrome. And I can show you just like how some of the pieces came about. We've got some really fabulous art styling. So the first thing to do was, sketch out just kind of like a T-pose model. I then brought that into Figma just to kind of refine the shape of those pieces. And then further into Blender, and that's where you kind of create the 3D form. I rigged it and created a few different animations. So yes, as you mentioned, she waves high when you boot her up. She interacts with a clock that flows around her when the timer is on. And then when you play music, she dabs as you change the song. So once again, it's kind of breaking things down to just the essentials of what you need in a virtual assistant and a friend. I'm curious as to what more I can tell you all or a demo here.
Well, can you explain a little bit more about this holographic effect for people watching who don't know how that works?
Of course. I can explain as a fellow maker and person who's entranced by shiny holographic things. So this is kind of comes from the Pepper's Ghost kind of illusion of creating that piece. In terms of just the way that it's projected on a cone as it is, I took that from a really wonderful developer named, I believe her name is Roxanne Lowe, and she wrote a paper back in around 2017, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. And that got picked up. I believe she posted on like Hacker News or something. So I saw that way back in 2017 of her project there that used this conical display to make really proportionately correct displays at this like scale. And I thought that's fabulous. I want that. I want to do that. I want to do it small and tiny and cute because I think that that's a lot of fun. Where I kind of ran into difficulties, even back in 2017, is that was initially made to run on an iPad using, I believe, Unity. And of course, Unity gets, Unity is great. So I hear. But it's like both that and in terms of like the iPad OS system, very quickly had become like out of date. And it just really wasn't possible to even like run that very easily without using like increasingly like archived versions of Unity. And my dream, which is of course small, cute, like accessible, is not super possible when you're using Unity, which has quite a lot of underlying bits and pieces. So going off of Roxanne Lowe's implementation there, my next step was to just kind of figure out the core logic, like what makes it go, coming at this as not someone, coming at this with a specific computer science math background and take like that code and also the functions that worked very explicitly with high-level functions that already existed in Unity and translate that into, I eventually used Raylib on C, which is a really fantastic open source C library, and just generic GLSL shaders to kind of get that effect. So it uses a distortion map that I still used from Roxanne Lowe's thing, just to kind of perspective correct. And then the way that distortion map is applied to the shaders and the shaders themselves were written by me. I say that in the very loose sense, kind of like ported over basically into these more generic libraries and technologies in order to show this. So that was kind of the how the holographic portion of this came about.
That is so fascinating. And so the housing there that you've got this set up in, it's 3D printed, and what kind of film is that she's projected through?
Yeah, so thank you very much for asking about this, because then that keeps me in the physical space and not worried about the fact that I can't share my screen. You're absolutely right that this is 3D printed. So I will, let me show you this.
It's very cute, by the way. I'm glad it's covered in hearts.
Thank you. So we have, I do not own a 3D printer, sadly. So I was going through I know, right? I was going through a lovely service here in London, and that kind of dictated a little bit about what materials I could use. Yeah. So very base of this and the top are both, I believe, FDM, and then the remaining things are SLS. And that was kind of to keep the cost down as much as possible, just keeping the biggest pieces, the cheapest material as possible. Unfortunately, the service I used discontinued their FDM service, so subsequent things will be, more expensive. And then within here, we can see Squat Maria, not perspective corrected.
That's neat.
And she's listening to me again because I said her name.
You need an accelerometer, so next time you pick it up, she starts freaking out.
I know, right? That's actually kind of the dream. So under this, there's some casings and stuff, just so that my little speaker here, it's a USB speaker, and the Pi itself with the screen like hat type thing fits well and stays balanced. Oh gosh. And then the walls around this, pardon me, I'm making a mess, are kind of, these are glued together at the hinges. They're four mostly identical pieces. That's not showing the camera whatsoever. And then snap fit into the base. And I wanted to do this. I did it in this approach because this is still it's a hacky, flawed work in progress project, and that's what I love about it. And doing everything kind of in this modular snap fit kind of way gives me the most flexibility in terms of, figuring out things like, even here, my poor USB cord thing is a little bit too far to the side. So now I can kind of fix that without having to redo the entire base every single time. So I will.
Yeah, I'm impressed that you had that 3D printed at a service, because I've printed cases for my electronics projects before, and it takes so many iterations to get ports lined up, to get screw holes in the right spot. Is the Pi mounted in place, or is it just resting right now?
It's just resting. There's like a few pieces within there to kind of keep it in position there. I can show you. It's one of those like. Yeah, to your point, Ash, like here's the first version where the FDM base was all kind of one piece, where I had to, you can see, knock down a wall because it was just straight up too small in order to pursue. iteration 2, slightly getting there in terms of pieces and stuff like that, but still everything was a little bit just didn't line up precisely as you mentioned. Like it's such a pain. Same deals with some funny the cagings and stuff that hold the cone in place. Always just a few measurements off. And then, oh gosh, most recently, the version before this, we've got a couple of walls that just didn't quite snap together perfectly. So yeah, I would encourage anyone making their own very hardware specific case to do so on your 3D printer if you have one already, because it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's so cheap to do it through this third party, and then you don't realize that there's always minimum charges and things not quite fitting, and
it's just more time consuming because you have to go back and change your design and then print it and wait for it to get printed and then see if it may have fit or not.
Yeah.
So respect. You gotta have patience.
And then you had asked about the film here. This is just some like acetate used from some old school like projectors back in the day when we had real projectors.
Dry erase
I remember those.
Yes. And that honestly works fairly well, I've found, in terms of the material here, in terms of both thickness and other stuff, in terms of not occluding it too much. I initially tried with a few different like semi-transparent like vinyls and stuff like that, but found that the thickness of them and the rigidity just weren't kind of up to snuff, basically. So highly recommend for your pseudo-holographic display, get some old school acetate at the local craft store. It does its job. Well, it does a different job. It no longer has a place in society, but it will do this.
Can you delve a little bit into the text-to-speech that you're using? Because she has such a lovely voice. Where did the voice come from?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the text-to-speech, and I'll also just provide a bit more information on the speech-to-text as well. Because they're both...
they're buddies.
I was really impressed with how well both of them worked, especially on a Pi. I'm so sorry. I should have specified earlier. This is a Raspberry Pi 4 in case folks didn't recognize it when I was dismantling everything. So it has, a good amount of power to do that. Like, it's a bit laggy, but it is, it's nice for the purposes. So for the text-to-speech with Maria's sorry, I'm always tempted. With Maria's godly little childlike voice, that is just using Google's text-to-speech and Google Cloud, and kind of playing with some of the parameters of it to just kind of pitch it up a little bit, make it a little bit more faster and childlike. And for me, that's gives fairly performant results in terms of the time it takes to get a response from the API, encode that into like a WAV file, and then play that back, is manageably performant, if you'll excuse the qualifiers, for being able to respond. And then for the speech to text, I am using a library called Vosk, which I really, really enjoy. So I do, encourage people to check out Vosk API, or sorry, not actually their API. I'm using it on there. Check out Vosk. It does a really good job. I've been so impressed with the language that it can pick up, and like just how accurately it detects everything I'm saying. I was previously using Mozilla's, I believe, deep speech, and that was good, and that did a good job. It was not for performance issues that I moved away from that library. I just changed my main laptop, and it doesn't work on the new MacBooks. So developing became a bit of a burden. But then I changed from deep speech, which I already thought was good, over to Vosk, and I was kind of blown away. Just honestly, how accurate, how slang appropriate, like how good it is at slang, how good it is at fetching everything from kind of my weird Canadian-ish accent sometimes. So yeah, really, yeah, check out Vosk if you're doing some speech recognition thing on a newer Pi, because yeah, it's lovely. I really enjoyed it as a library.
Right, I've added that to the bookmarks. That sounds like a bit of fun.
Wow, this is just a really awesome project. I love how you made it a hologram, so it brings some personality to it.
Yeah.
So, following your instructions, do you think folks can expand on what you've done and sort of build a different hologram and expand the capabilities?
I really hope that they do. So at lovely. At the website we've shared above, the maria.awardwinninghuman.com, I have been, to the best of my abilities, very conscientious about making things replicable for folks, that they can kind of take things and move forward with it and just build on stuff. So that has been a major goal within this project from its inception. So from both there and from the Git repo that links to, I would love folks to see folks kind of take what's there and build on it. Do something that's not anime. I don't know why you'd want to, but like do that. Add some additional like functions and stuff like that. Let adorable, and she's listening to me again. Let adorable anime virtual assistants take over from like the status quo of things that may not have the same amount of personality. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. So speaking of awesome projects, and Les, you've been experimenting with the new Scitron board that could be the basis of a lot of projects.
I have indeed, yes. So Scitron make a lot of cool stuff. We've had boards for the Pico, for the Raspberry Pi itself. They make a hat. And I got something special. So I'm going to go to the overhead camera. And you can see we've got the CM4 maker board. Now I know that CM4s, compute module 4s, are unobtainium at the moment. But if you can get one and you want to mess around with GPIO and all wonderful stuff, then have a go with this. It's about $50. And it breaks out all the bits and pieces you need for the Raspberry Pi, like the GPIO and ports. But it also provides a few extra things. So I'm going to go top to bottom. And I've got my pointing device as well. I've been professional today, which you can just about see on the screen. Let me just move this down. You can see at the top, we've got LEDs. These show the status of the GPIO pins. Then we've got GPIO pins themselves. You can fit a normal hat on there. I plugged in an Explorer Hat Pro on a Pimoroni's boards, and it just worked. Great fun. Here, I've got micro SD cards. If you've got a CM4 Lite with no onboard storage, you can put in a micro SD card and boot from that. We've got camera and display, so you can plug in the standard cameras, so the camera module 3, the new high quality cameras, and the global shutter cameras, etc. The official display. But, and this is something that we see on a lot of these boards from Scitron. Let's get it in shot. There we go. These little off-white ports here, these are Grove connections. So we've used these quite a few times, and there's actually a couple of stories that I've written about these. So you can plug in Grove compatible components straight into it. So LEDs, OLED screens, buttons, that sort of thing, sensors. And it just makes either an I2C connection, PWM or UART connection to your board, and you can control away. There's no messy wiring with breadboards, it just plugs in and away to go. but also hidden. And I missed this originally. I had to go back and add this in the review, coming out soon. Let's get it there. Can you see just there? That's a Stemma QT port.
Nice.
I completely missed it 'cause it's so tiny. But that's just Stemma QT. So any of the Stemma QT boards you can get from Adafruit, the Quick boards from Pimoroni, or the, not from Pimoroni, sorry, their Quest boards, Spark funded the Quick boards. Plug straight in, I2C connection. You load in your software. In this case, I use CircuitPython on the Raspberry Pi. And it just worked. I was happily hacking away with sensors and all sorts of weird, wonderful things. We've got other bits to play with, though. We've got a real-time clock. So there's a CR2032 battery to keep it going. We've got an annoying buzzer.
It's annoying.
It's annoying. Yeah, all buzzers are annoying, but they're great fun. Just not if you're in a class of 30. Ask me how I know. And then we've got this. Let's get it in shot. There we go. This doesn't come with it, but that's an NVMe hard drive, an SSD, a 2242 size it is, and that's 128 gig in capacity. So I loaded Raspberry Pi OS onto that, and it boots straight from that, and it boots like lightning. It's great. I have a nice fast OS, and I can do all my Raspberry Pi stuff I want to do, but with a faster, bigger storage. Got some buttons at the bottom, and we have 2 power buttons. And you're thinking now, 2 power buttons? That's a bit stupid, isn't it? Why do you need 2?
Indeed, it's fishy.
Indeed. You need 2 because if you just press 1, it doesn't work. Both of them have to be pressed to turn the board off, so you don't accidentally turn the board off because they are, quite small, these buttons. Human fun for scale. There we go.
Oh, wow.
They should probably be further away from each other if they're trying to make it more challenging, because my 4-year-old would very easily hit both of those at once.
Very true. But they also have something else just above it. It doesn't really appear on camera very well. You can just see it. There's 2 pins there. That's a power plug connection. So you can plug in an external power button, say to a PC case, and have the power button in the PC case turn your Pi on and off. And then on the back, we have all the usual culprits. USB-C, which provides power and data. And you can program your compute module 4 directly on the board. It's by using some software called RPi Boot, I remember what it's called. 1 HDMI port. USB 2, unfortunately, we got no USB 3 on this, but we can live with that. Gigabit Ethernet, and a DC barrel jack at the end, which handles, I'll just stealthily read this, between 7 and 18 volts. So you can plug in a wall wart and power the entire board and your hard drive. Easy peasy. So I really like this. It's about $50, and it's good fun to play with. You do need to have a Compute Module 4 to get the most out of it. I've not tested any of the competitor boards with this. I kept it just to the Pi 4, CM4. They are hard to get hold of. So it's a case of, if you've got one, get one of these and play around with it. If you haven't got one, stick with Raspberry Pi 4 for now.
That's good to have options, because it's kind of hard to get a hold of Pi still.
Yeah, at the moment, Raspberry Pi Zero Ws are in stock. I think Pimoroni has some this afternoon. But yeah, they are getting unobtainium again. But hopefully by the end of the year, we should get Pi 4s in stock.
I have another question for Jess, though. We moved away from her project, but I wanted to know what else do you want to do with Maria? Like, if you could add some more features and assume the difficulty of programming it is not too far out of reach, what else do you want her to do?
Yeah, so taking a slight step away from Maria for a little bit, but that's mostly to contain all of the possible stuff that will take the rest of my life to implement if I chose to do that. But yeah, just speaking on a few different things. So I was playing briefly. One kind of natural and comparatively easy piece would be adding some kind of chat GPT. I know. Chat function to her so that she's a little bit more robust in the ways that she can interact with you beyond just instructions. So yeah, that would be very doable. If we're going blue sky, or if we're going into my fantasy land, which
Let's go.
dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's currently, as I mentioned, she's on a Pi 4B, and the language recognition stuff is on the Pi. It's running on the Pi. I would love to put it on kind of a smaller, more honestly, both easier to get and cheaper board, and move most of the functionality over just into the cloud, so that it doesn't, for a few reasons, both to like make sure that make the hardware a little bit easier to get a hold of and a little bit cheaper, and making the case with your third party printing company cheaper because it's smaller, as well as for smallness, it's cuter. There's more flexibility in terms of portability. One of the really cool things about, again, some of the items that this was inspired by is that she's static. She's always facing the front, and going with something that's a bit more portable kind of opens it up a little bit more to work with, tilt sensors and stuff like that, to just kind of show off that this is, a 3D model as opposed to just a video. Beyond that, there's also just like, I am like just a weird creative nerd person, and just customizing the appearance of the model in a way that's a bit more intuitive for the people who are using it is on my wish list of to do things, though doing that in Blender and then with Raylib will be a little bit of a challenge. So there's certainly more. This is not, Maria's in the prime of her life. She's got many more things to do. What's the weather? See if she'll do something.
The high for the rest of today will be 13.9 degrees, and the low will be 9.3 degrees. There may be rain starting at 1800.
Anyway, sorry. I thought I'd take advantage of the fact that she was listening to me again. I was like,
It's cute.
she
You
has like
see her
3
do
things.
that.
It's adorable, yeah. So yeah, like as I mentioned, just figuring out how to get some of the functionality, get more of the functionality off the Pi, so that it gives a bit more flexibility in terms of the hardware that I'm using to power it. That is kind of that's one goal. And then beyond that, we get into the realm of customizable Marias, and more near term, there might be a chat GPT little function for her, because I don't think that's too hard with their current
That would be a huge
library.
step.
No, it seems doable.
Yeah, it would bring it to life so much more.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's
she would
true.
talk to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, you could get all kinds of interesting information from ChatGPT. Not all of it true, but
It's information.
but information nonetheless. So I know we just have a couple more minutes. Ash, I know you had some projects you wanted to talk about that folks could pursue on their own.
Yeah, so I wanted to come up with a list of beginner projects, but not beginner for people who don't have any experience with electronics. I was thinking of, like, we all know someone who's really tech savvy, but they haven't really dived into the Raspberry Pi yet. So I thought, well, maybe I can find a list of projects that can help intermediately experienced tech people get into the Pi beyond just, well, here's an LED, here's how you flash it, which is not to knock that. That is a good project to start with. So these projects I chose specifically are ones that we have on tomshardware.com, and I chose them because we have guides to follow. It's not just talking about the projects. We will walk you through step by step what you need, how to set it up, so you can really get started, or share that with someone who you want to get into the Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to click my button. There we go. First one, maybe it seemed obvious. You got to have Minecraft on the Pi. And for those who are already aware, or who are not already aware, Raspberry Pi comes with a special Pi edition of Minecraft, but this is different. This is not just open up Minecraft. This is how to create a Minecraft server on the Raspberry Pi. And this guide was written by Avram. Yeah. Thank you, Avram.
Yes, with help from my son. We actually have to update the one that's on how to do VR, Minecraft VR, because apparently that's changed. But this is still this for the server, for doing server, should still be good. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is the special version of Minecraft that comes with Raspberry Pi OS is not that great, because it's just an education edition, so you can't really play Minecraft with it. This is actually creating like a Minecraft Java Edition server, so you need to have a license to run it. The free education edition that comes with Raspberry Pi is cute, but not really very useful to anyone who actually wants to play Minecraft.
And I think the fact that this guide is for the Java edition is what makes the project so appealing, because you're not playing around with a light version to tinker with. Like, you can just make a server. I mean, it might not be performance-wise what you would get on a big beefy desktop per se, but you and your friends can play around with it. Right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine, especially if you open the IP to the outside world. And certainly, I recommend that you plug the server into the Ethernet port on your router, rather than having it go over Wi-Fi to your router and then Wi-Fi to the whatever devices, because you want to remove whatever latency you can.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
So the next project I wanted to share, Les, why did you have to say buzzers are annoying? Because this is about how to use a buzzer to play music with the Pico. So this is how you can drive Les crazy. This one I thought was neat because it doesn't take a lot of hardware. The Pico is relatively inexpensive. Buzzers, there are usually buzzers in those kits that you find where they give you, like if you go onto Amazon or wherever, you can usually get maker kits where they give you all kinds of little knickknacks and goodies to get started with. And there's almost always a buzzer to play with. Yeah. And if you don't know what to do with it, besides, beep, 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 this will tell you, again, written by Abram, how you can use it to adjust the pitch and make music out of it. And it's a lot more than just turn on the LED, like it's a little more involved. So I thought that would be a good beginner project if you just wanted to play around with like how to set up a script on the Pico and how to program it to do something custom. There's a lot going on here that's not too difficult, but it's still pretty involved that it would keep the attention of somebody who's already fairly literate as far as programming and tech goes.
Yeah.
Abram, did you guys have fun with this one?
Yeah, we did. I mean, there's obviously more to do. What I'm working on right now, but it's just been a very time-consuming project for my son and I, is working on creating a platformer game that uses the Galactic Unicorn LED matrix from Pimoroni. And we're getting some more in terms of speeding it up because the performance wasn't good enough, and I will have to use the speaker on this as well to make like video game sounds. But we need to create.
I say that in a few podcasts,
okay.
It might be the platform might be
all right,
ready.
yes, in a few my son came in to tell me in a few podcasts it'll be ready.
Tell him thanks.
only if he helps me with it instead of playing Minecraft. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot that you can combine if you want to make music with your buzzer, and then with the Pico buzzer, and then our thing also uses a Pico W to make a server, so you can sort of like control the game through your web browser. So there's a lot going on for sure.
I like how versatile that is. I wouldn't even have thought of using it with the Galactic Unicorn, but that makes sense. That's a good use for it. That's really cool.
I mean, Galactic Unicorn comes with a speaker, so you don't even need to add one. There's one on the back somewhere.
Yeah. It looks like the size of the ones you'd find inside of Game Boys.
Yeah, well, we're not expecting it to be hi-fi or anything.
Yeah.
But
and I had one more project. This is from the creative mind of the brilliant and wacky, I hope he's not listening, I wasn't being rude when I called him wacky, Ryder Damon, who makes some of the craziest pie projects. You've got to look him up, RYDER, Ryder Damon. But this one isn't too out of the ordinary. You're not blasting people walking by your house with flour. This is a pet detector. And I like this because it uses some complex systems. Like it does use image recognition to figure out what's going on, but hardware wise, you don't need a lot. It's just like a Pi and a camera. And I mean, there's a little bit more than that, like you'll need an SD card and stuff, but you just use the Pi and the camera, and then you look at stuff, and then the Pi processes what it's looking at, and then you can use that to trigger a notification. And in this case, he's using it to see if his dog needs to go outside. But that's just a fun, simple project that's a little bit more than, like I said before, turning on an LED.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ash. Thank you so much, Jess, for joining us today. And Maria for joining us today and sharing this amazing project. Thanks to everyone who watches and listens. We will be back next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which will it still be 6 p.m. in UK, or are you guys changing?
No. 7 p.m. next week. We're back to normal.
Back to normal time, or we'll probably get a more normal size audience. The confusion between the daylight savings times has caused a little bit of an issue. But we'll be back next week. I believe we will have on someone showing us a Chat GPT watch that is powered by Raspberry Pi. So, and you can talk to with your voice. So we look forward to seeing you all then. Bye, everyone.